What's going on, everybody? We're back. It's about to get boring. We're going to talk about real estate market stats for the Portland metro area. There will be no toxic positivity here today. No, there are some good trends for us to talk about, some normalcy. We're going to talk about what it means to be in a new normal market in the Portland metro area. My name's David Caldwell. I'm here with Krista Britton. I want to say broker. I'm putting up a broker. Krista Broker Britton.
Broker's my middle name.
We've been selling real estate so long, our real estate licenses are almost old enough to drink. So that's what we're yeah. So here we go. Look, the most important thing, right? The number one question, how's the market? What people are actually asking is, David and Krista, what is going on with my home's value? Is it going up? Is it going down? Is it sideways? The answer is it always depends on where you're at and the price.
When did you buy?
But if we look at the Portland metro area, pairing 2026 to 2025, January and February to January and February, average sales prices decreased 4.4% from 607,800 to 81. But there's a reason that we don't really like to report what's been going on year to date with average sales price until there's more months behind us. Because when we look at the average sales price for the past 12 months, that zoom out view is really what we should be looking at. And the average sales price is 609,300. Now that's down just slightly, but zoom out again. What does February normally look like? February 2023, 282. February 2023, 569. February 2024, 576. February 2025, market ship sounds good, 613. What did February 2026 come in at? 581. It's kind of all the same.
Just right in there. Yeah.
It's all the same-ish. Hey, what was the average sales price in 2022? 610,900 for the year. 2023, we know we had a drop, 598. 2024, 608,600. 2025, 612. Those are for each year. Again, where are we at over the last 12 months? 609,300. So the market's just kind of sideways and doing this.
Flat.
We're not experiencing great appreciation. We're not experiencing great depreciation as an average. Although many people that bought homes in the last 4 years, if they have to sell today, are selling at a discount. But as an average, it's kind of sideways. Krista, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, that's what a lot of people just watching the market come up. That's the question we're getting is like, oh, how much value has my home lost? And it's always like, it depends. When did you buy your home? How much money have you put into your home? Right? Fortunately, the worst case scenario I'm seeing for right now, I would feel, are people that have probably bought in around 2022, 2023, who are trying to sell now, and they're competing with all the new construction. And so then the resale market is just slow. And that's where I'm personally seeing the hardest hit.
Yeah, and let's talk about new construction for a second, right? And let's look at it in the frame of these are professional home sellers. They're professional home sellers. We know in the marketplace, the biggest challenge is affordability. That's the biggest challenge. Almost every new construction subdivision is offering a rate down into the fives, which is the equivalent of most of those properties. If it's listed at $750, it's really like buying it for $720 because they're using $30,000, $20,000 to get the rate down. So, that is something you have to think about as a home seller in a resale home. For sure. And most of the time, your yard does not overcome people's want for new amenities.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the argument, right? Well, my house is 20 years outdated, but look at my yard. There's a reason people choose modern amenities over yards. Most people, they are going in that direction. So look, that leads us to like just another question, Krista, on like preparation. Because like how do you compete with new construction with that being said?
I mean, you have to come into the market priced appropriately, and you need to have your home dialed in. A lot of people overlook just the basic things when people come in and they see like the floorboards and everything are scuffed. And they're just seeing all these little things they're going to have to fix and check off, which is just more and more money. So they're already buying at the top, and then they don't have the money to come in and fix these things. But versus you go into new construction, everything's dialed in. There's nothing you have to do. You don't have to fork out more money. So if you're in a resale market, it's really important that I mean, I'm not saying go put a new roof on, but that your roof during an inspection is going to come in, without needing repairs, that all of those little things are dialed in. What do you think, David?
Yeah, I think it's the same thing. I think in this type of market where new buyers entering the market statistically are going to have the highest payment that we've had as Americans, like as a percentage of their income. What's that mean? There's less money to do repairs.
Mm-hmm.
There's less money to do some of these things. So, I mean, I was telling you, I'm getting ready to sell a property, and I've been doing this, my license is almost old enough to drink, right? We were just talking about, but I need you to come over and tell me what to do. Because as a homeowner, someone who lives in the home, I might be over analyzing certain things. Mm-hmm. And then there's some things that are a big deal that I might be underestimating. I know my home before I sell it, it needs a new roof. And do I want to spend the money to put a new roof on? I don't. I also don't want to deal with the consequences of not putting the roof on in that price point of a house, and age of a house.
Fail or anything like that.
Yeah, knowing who my buyer is going to be, they're probably going to have limited income to do investments on that particular property. But, we don't control the market. We'll talk about that today. We do control the condition we bring our home to the market in.
And just to back you up, it is really important to have an outsider come in and walk through your home and tell you what is important to do versus what is not. Because I have gone in and husbands and wives have very different ideas of importance. I've had husbands that are out in the garage and they are painting that garage. That garage is going to be dialed in. That's great. That is probably not the number one thing to be working on when maybe it needs new floors or the interior needs to be painted, things like that. But everyone has their own ideas. And that's why it's important to have a professional come over and be like, hey, this is what's going to get you the most bang for your buck. This is what's going to be photographed. This is what's important to sell your home. I mean, I've even, as a realtor, I had you come over to my last house because I was ready to basically remodel the entire thing because I saw every flaw, right? And most homeowners see every flaw. I was going to overdo it. You and my husband had to bring me back down to life, right? Down to earth.
The house.
And that's normal. It's normal human. Yeah.
The house you're sitting in now, you would have made a higher offer to that seller.
Yeah. And I also wanted this house so bad. I was like, just give them all my money. Yeah, I love this house so much. It's so emotional.
And I told you not to, right? And by the way, that's why my name won't be on the front of the house that I'm living in now when I sell it, because it is good to have that separation and have a second opinion when you're working with someone who's competent. Look, pricing wise, right? The market is just stable. It's just stable. I've been speaking to real estate agents at events about the market. And one of the charts that I've been showing, I showed it in last month's video, is Q1 just looks the same. But we will talk today about what happens in Q2 and what we can expect in Q2. So let's just look at listings, right? New listings, they increased 17% from the same time last year. February 2025. What's one of the things that we say a lot as we talk about the market is the gap between listings and buyers is getting greater. And when you have a large percentage of homes not sell annually, like we've experienced for the last 36 months in Portland, those homes come back to the market at some point because most people's plans don't change. They just get delayed. What happens with those delayed sellers when they come back to the market a second or third time? Usually the condition of their property is better or their price is more in alignment with where the market is. But usually the second or third time around, they're a more committed seller. They're done testing.
Yeah.
That is a trend we should expect to see continue going into 2026. 2023, 2024, 2025 all saw an increase in listings, but pending sales is another story. Pending sales for February, by the way, look good, you guys. They're up 10% from the same time the year before. So one of the things I went and looked at is how many times have we seen a 10% increase, same month the year before, in the last 3 years. This is the 5th time it's happened. So it happens a little bit. It doesn't happen a lot. Is it the beginning of a new trend? I wish I had a buzzer to say it's not the beginning of a new trend because mortgage rates jumped again. Now they dipped and then they've jumped again.
No, they dipped in February.
We're just back. We're back to normal, right? One of my friends, Matt Turisic, sells a lot of luxury real estate in Portland. We always talk about Q1. It's the quarter of optimism. of the market. It's the hope that the market's going to turn. But as I've been speaking to agents, I think where there's optimism is that we have 3 years of data now that reflects really consistent trends. And we can kind of seasonally tell people what's going to happen in the marketplace today. Look, because of that jump in pending sales, what happened with months of inventory? It went from 4.3 months to 3.6 months. By the way, last month we said that was going to happen too. Like these things they're predictable. Right? Now, even with a 10% increase in pending sales, 1,821 people bought a house. Let's look and see how many homes are on the market right now. 4,616 available listings in the Portland metro area today. Last month, 1,500 people went pending. The common experience if you're a home seller is you're not getting an offer. 4,600 homes on the market, 2,200 new listings come to the market, 1,800 go pending, right? Common experience is not getting an offer. Price and preparation, patience, those things can also be important. Time on market is just expanding. What happened with closed sales? Closed sales decreased 1.6% from the same time last year. There are 1,400 closed sales. That's January for you, right? January pendings go into February. It's a slow month. Average market time today, 91 days. So I'm trying to speed us along to when we talk about Q2, Krista. So what are just your thoughts on like the pending sale and closed sales environment?
I mean, so for pending sales, I mean, that's great, right? That we're seeing more things pending, and which helps us with having less inventory because we know we're coming into the springtime where inventory traditionally, we're going to see more and more listings come on the market. So having some of that move out of the way is always nice as a realtor to see. And I know for future sellers, it's a little bit of a relief, right?
We had a company meeting, like for our real estate company, and the managing broker was like, everybody go get a listing. And then I talked and I said, man, she's going to regret saying that.
Yeah. So, I mean, I told you earlier this year, I go, not that I wouldn't love listings, but man, buyers that are ready to buy, that's where it's at. Like, because if they're ready to buy and they're pre-approved, there's listings they can just, that for sure is going to be done. Listing a home right now, you honestly, like, there's some that you think are going to go fast and they don't. There's some that are going to, you think are going to go slow and they're not. And so, and pricing and everything like that, and keeping sellers, it's really stressful when your house isn't selling and you're not getting showings. It's really, really stressful.
Yeah. Make no mistake.
Keeping sellers happy in that time period is also very hard.
Yeah. Make no mistake. This is a buyer's market. In general, in the Portland housing market, there are pockets where it's not. Mm-hmm. But a lot of agents are going to want to tell you that 3.6 months of inventory is a neutral market. That's how you know that they're a novice agent. That's how you know their real estate license is a toddler, not old enough to drink, right?
I was doing the research on one of my listings. It's a great listing, super cute. There is, in that price point, in that area, there's 10 months of inventory. I'm like, oh man, buckle up. This is going to take a minute.
Let's explain what that means, right? Because people would go, it would take 10 months to sell all these listings at the current pace of sales if no new listings come to the market. The problem is that never happens. New listings always come to the market. They always come. So that particular home, it's likely that 10 months of inventory, when we look at what usually happens in Q2 and will happen again, it could be above a year, right? And it drives this point where in our industry, we want to say that there's a shortage of housing, but in the short term, there's not. When 10,000 homes a year in the Portland metro area are not selling, and I have receipts if you'd like to see them.
Show me them receipts.
There's not a housing shortage. We have an affordability issue that is not being solved. And in the short term might be insolvable, right? Short of quantitative easing and artificially low interest rates. So, I have this Instagram post on my Instagram that's like, interest rates went from 7% to 6%. Did buyers flood the market? Because that's what agents say is going to happen. No. And for 3 years, the data looks the same, which is a great segue into let's look at what Q2 normally looks like if I'm able to share this. So hold on. Here we go. Okay. Prepare to geek. This is the last 3 years of pending sales and active average monthly inventory. The blue line is the average amount of homes on the market for that month. The orange line is true pending sales from 2023 through January 2026. It's chunked out in quarters. So here is Q2, what we're about to go into. Here is Q2. Here is Q2. The important thing to notice is we have a completely stable trend line for the amount of people who can buy. Does it mean you won't get a multiple offer in certain situations? No, it doesn't mean you can't. There's multiple offer situations in every marketplace. In the Great Recession, where home values were declining at 10%, there were multiple offer situations. Multiple offer situations are not indicative of a good market or a bad market. They're a consequence of a seller being prepared and pricing correctly. The blue line, what have we been seeing over the last 3 years? An increase in listings coming to the market. We talked about it just a little bit ago. The people that can't sell or couldn't sell in previous years, they come back today because people's plans don't change. They delay. We should expect the gap between buyers and sellers to be larger in 2026 than it was in 2025. That should be a very easy expectation. We just talked about how new listings are already up year to date. Year to date, same time last year, new listings are up 6%. Hey, February is going to look good, you guys. Like, there's going to be a good February blip. But what we know is that momentum cannot continue with where interest rates are today. I'd love to be wrong, but I don't believe that they can continue.
And what would we talk about? We said it needs to be in the low fives, 5.25 to see the makeup of the difference based on where prices are at. If
we look at history and we look at where affordability was as a percentage of people's income, when we had a marketplace that appreciated at 5-6% a year pre-COVID, people had they could afford 150% of the mortgage payment. In order to basically, you do the same equation today, interest rates would need to be 5.25 to 5.5 with where average sales prices are today and where incomes are, even though we've had some income increase. So, hey, like I had a thesis a while ago that we borrowed appreciation from the future. That feels like it's showing up with a couple of years of stagnation in pricing. But this gap is going to get bigger. We should expect a challenging 2Q. And I guess, to put a bow on it, the spring market isn't going to save you, and a lot of people think that. Let's go to some other charts I made today.
Charts.
This is just what absorption has looked like over the last 3 years, right? Questionably an improving market if you talk to some people. But all this chart is showing is this is new listings. This doesn't even actually equate for carryover listings. What percentage of the homes are actually being absorbed, pending listings versus new listings? And we know it's going down because we know new listings are going up and the pending trend line is the same, right? So this is your odds of success as a seller, right? That's why we've been saying this is one of the most challenging markets to be a seller in a decade. Oh, hold on. I got to find this chart so I can go down. This is just the same thing for Q2. What have we seen over the last 3 years? We've seen supply increase. We've seen steady demand. And this should be comforting for a seller, albeit I'm sure it's disappointing. But we have clearly defined trend lines. One of the things I hear a lot as I speak to my peers is they're questioning why their listing isn't selling. But they ignore the big problem, which is every listing can't sell. And you have to start from that piece. Every listing doesn't sell, it can't. Krista sells a lot in Sherwood. Well, 25% of the listings in Sherwood are going unsold. And that's better than most marketplaces. But if you're thinking about being a home seller, you have to start there. The first question is, what do I have to do to be in the 75% that do sell? Hey, by the way, there are some homes that are priced perfectly well in that 25% that aren't selling. They're priced fine. But when 25% of listings don't sell, sometimes you have to price as a deal.
I mean, the big thing that we talk about when we meet with our sellers, right? It's time or price. You don't get both generally. So what's more important, time on market or your final price?
I had a text exchange with one of my clients the other day, and there's like, what can we do? Can we force the market to try to get more showings? And I use this example. Zillow gets 225 million unique monthly visitors. Think about that. 225 million visits to your website. Last year, there were 4 million home sales in America. Eyeballs on your property, they're really good, right? But you could spend 100% of the available commission on a billboard and get all the eyeballs in Portland and be everywhere. And it doesn't mean you're going to increase the total number of sales in a specific marketplace. That's why you see lots of new construction have 200, 300 days on market still, right? time or price. That is a professional home seller with high days on market waiting for their price. They're waiting for their price. So what should we expect in Q2? We should expect what we've had the last 3 years, and let me just pull up my summary. And Krista, you give some thoughts while I do this.
I mean, yeah, Q2, we're going to see more of the same. We're going to see more listings come to the market, right? And that's either going to be people, as we talked about, that failed the last year or so. They're going to come back on, hopefully in better condition with a newer price. We're going to see some new people entering the market, but it's also going to be kind of more of the same. If interest rates stay about where they have been and what I would expect them to continue, then we're just going to see more of the same of what we've seen in the past few years.
So like in pending sales, which that's demand, right? Mm-hmm. Between 2023 and 2024 in the whole Portland metro area, over like 1 million houses, right? Like 1.6 million people, 1.7 million people live here. There were 78 additional sales. 2024 between 2025, we saw a decrease. We saw 102 less pending sales than the year before. It's going to be the same, right? It's going to be the same. But the gap between buyers and sellers is going to get a little bit bigger, which means it's going to be a more challenging environment if you're a home seller. And you need to understand this if there's anything to understand. And if you're a buyer, and maybe you're a buyer in a multiple offer situation, man, if you really love that house, go get it. But you also need to understand that so there's going to be another. And there's going to probably be one you like that isn't in a multiple offer situation at some point.
I've never had clients miss out on a home, then not go and find a home they like better. It's always worked out.
That's the biggest truism in real estate.
I know it's emotional, it's hard, but there's always another home that will be the one that works for you.
So if we had roughly a 5% increase in new listings, what would we expect? Somewhere around 10,000 new listings coming to the market in Q2. If pending sales stay roughly where they've been, we would expect about 6,700 to 6,800 pending sales. And again, that doesn't count for carryover listings on the listing side.
And you're saying if things stay the same?
Things stay the same, which I believe, if someone wants to bet me, I'll take that bet.
No, I'm
free money.
No, I'm with you. Like this market right now, we're busy, but we've been in the business, close to drinking age. So we have a plethora of clients and, sellers and past clients. So we're staying busy, but a lot of the newer agents or people that have never had a dip, they don't know what to do and they don't know how to explain it.
Well, we're busy for a new business model.
Yeah.
We're really slow compared to what's historically normal for us.
Yeah. But also remember, we got into real estate. Hello, Great Recession. That was our introductory to real estate. So for me, this is way better than that, right? If I have to compare anything to a horrible time in real estate, I'm going back to 2008.
Yeah, look, I think the market conditions are important to understand because it's how you navigate the market. But the need for housing, right? The need for housing is always there, right? And long-term, anyone that looks out in a 10-year period of buying or selling real estate, they feel really smart because that's what historic appreciation looks like. Short-term holding, even in good markets, generally wasn't a good idea. Historically in America, homeownership has been the path to financial success towards the end of life and comfort and stability from the equity you gain. Now, I'm very pragmatic. So my belief is that, real estate won't see historic appreciation like we've seen in the past. I believe it has to slow down because you have major issues when the average age of a first-time home buyer is 40 years old.
Yeah, for sure.
You have major issues when it costs you $80,000 to get permits to build a house. You can't have affordability in a marketplace when you have permits costing that. And as you know from personal experience and myself, the slog that is the permitting process with the county.
Yeah, it's the cost. It's the government's not making it easy for first-time home buyers.
But home ownership statistically makes a ton of sense. But you use this data to help you make more informed, better decisions. My belief has always been as a real estate agent, what can I control? I can control the current list price. I can control the offer price my client makes. I can control preparation. To a certain extent, I can control the condition of the house my client buys because we can we can walk away from inventory that has too much deferred maintenance. But there's a lot of things about the marketplace we don't control, but we use the information we have to venture through the market so we can make really good decisions and make better decisions and empowered decisions.
Yes. Like that empowered. Make empowered decisions, David.
Tie a bow on it so we can be done, because this man has to go fight people at jiu-jitsu.
All right. My husband just ran outside. He saw a coyote. So, all right. Well, thank you very much for listening to the most boring podcast / video in the world. I hope you learned something about the market, what's going on with the market, this very flat, boring market. If you are interested in learning more about your personal home and what's going on in your life, hit us up at hello@hillshirerealtygroup.com and hit that like and subscribe button. And thanks again. Anything else, David?